Hey there, all.
Ah,
Welcome to Fat Product Review. Hi, Monet. You look
hello.
like a painting. You look like a Monet.
But hopefully not the clueless definition of that.
Definitely not. Beautiful. So I'm so happy and honored to have Monet here today, Monet Ha-Sidi. And Monet has this really cool tagline on her Facebook that says, award-winning stripper by night, and then activist all the damn time, which I know because we're friends on Facebook and I see your activism, and I'm so grateful for all of your activism. I know you don't ever get paid for your emotional labor, or rarely, and I want you to know, if it matters to you at all, I appreciate it. So, and I appreciate your fat activism, and I know that you're involved in burlesque and you call yourself nerdlesque. What does that mean?
Thank you. Um, okay, so nerdlesque is when you take like a fandom or geekdom that you like and do a striptease act to it, like storytelling, in your own way, your version or idea of what that fandom or nerddom geekdom is.
Nerddom?
So for me, my fandoms are a little bit different than what's considered. Like, I guess the only mainstream fandom that would be at every con that you go to is Star Wars. And I do have a Star Wars act. I have an act where I turn from Anakin and a Darth, and I have a Chewbacca act, and I have a Lando act.
Love it.
Um, but two of my signature acts, I guess, would be one of my fandoms since I was young, and this movie came out when I was a teenager, so I was not the core demographic, was Lion King.
Okay.
I have two Lion King tattoos. So I do a Rafiki act to the Circle of Life.
Cool.
And when I present baby Simba, I eat his brains.
I remember hearing about that.
And then my other act is Titanic, because I love the movie Titanic.
I know this about you. You've watched it a million times, I know.
You know what? And I actually, even though it was on Sundance, so it had commercials, so it was like 6 hours long, I had it on last night while I slept. I do a Titanic act to Crashing Me by Dave Matthews Band, where I am the Titanic, and once I hit the icebergs and my clothes start coming off and Barbie exit my body and things like that. So that's like some of my nerdlesque. And I also do like Brad Majors from Rocky Horror Picture Show, and Freddy Krueger and the Grinch and things like that. So yeah, that's what nerdlesque is, where you take a fandom and you assign like your version of it to burlesque.
So creative. Gosh, you are very creative. I see all kinds of things that you're creating all the time, and I've never even seen your burlesque, so I think I've seen it online once, but it's like you tell that your brain it never stops working. It doesn't seem like.
That is correct. It's always working, and my ideas come from the strangest places. Like, my mind is working on acts right now. So like my favorite band is Death Cab for Cutie, and the song that inspired their band name, I'm now working on an act to that song.
Very cool. How did you figure out that you can be fat and be in burlesque? I mean, like, how did you discover that?
Well, my journey into burlesque goes back to when I was 18. When I was 18, I actually wanted to be a stripper, but I wound up working at Chuck E. Cheese instead.
It's like the antithesis of stripping.
Which makes sense to what my style is and what I do in burlesque, which is a lot of comedy. So when I was turning 30, 12 years ago now, so I've been doing burlesque for 12 years, there's an ad on Craigslist for a burlesque troupe that was starting, and I answered it. Cool. And I was like, well, I have some experience. I was head of dance team in high school. I was Chuck E. Cheese. I'm used to performing. And then that's kind of how it started. My body at the time, is like more considered like thick, and as time has grown on, like I've gotten more fabulously body wealthy, which I'm totally fine with. And as I just really didn't think that much about it. It's just as like I wanted to perform, and I kind of had an idea of what burlesque was. I just knew it was like you took your clothes off, but you had a little bit more story behind it. And I knew that burlesque had some more of acceptance of different body types than traditional strip clubs did at the time as well.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of what led me into getting into burlesque.
Who do you think is just amazing in the burlesque world that really inspires you even today?
See, and I wasn't really inspired by anybody in burlesque when I got into it, because I went into it kind of green of what was existing already.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't until I got into burlesque that I started seeing other people and then being inspired by what they do and realizing like, hey, maybe I can do that too. But my first signature act, I would say, is like my Darth Vader act, and I didn't even know what technically Nerdlesque was when I did that act. I just knew I wanted to do a Star Wars act.
Right,
And then I realized like, oh, this is like my style. I like to stumbled upon it by accident, because that's
Very cool.
where I leaned to because of what my interests were. But let me think, who is
You're
it?
a hardcore nerd, huh?
I guess so. Like a lot of my style or what I'm into is a little bit more on the nerd side than some others. Like right now, my fandom is the movie Midsummer.
Oh, yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, I saw it 9 times in the theater. Like I created a profile for the movie on Facebook to be in a relationship with the film. I had my birthday Midsummer themed. Like I watch it at least once or so a week. Actually, tonight I have a date with a friend that they're going to watch it for the first time, and we're going to be on Facebook video chat watching it together.
You have a midsummer burlesque act coming.
And the thing is, I can't narrow down necessarily how I want to tell it, and that's why I haven't done one yet, because there's so much about it that I don't know. But like part of me, Blanche DeBra. Oh, DeBra. Okay, so she does this amazing act where she tells the sound of music in like 7-ish minutes. The whole story of the sound of music.
Wow, that's impressive.
And I will send you the link.
Okay.
You can watch it. It is the most amazing thing that I have seen, because it plays to my nerd, and I love the sound of music. And ironically, I watch the sound of music and Midsummer together. Oftentimes the double feature.
Love it.
And seeing her do this is so beautiful. And so it's inspired me, because I've told her, I wonder if I could do that with Titanic. Right. And now I wonder if I could do that with Midsummer.
Yeah.
Let's put
her link in the show notes. When you send it to me, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, like it's such a good act. And I would say that to me has been one of the most inspirational things that I've seen, because it speaks to what I love in burlesque.
What's her name again?
Blanche DeBra.
Great name,
too. Great. Sorry.
Okay.
I apologize. I may have partaked in a little 420 before we start.
Okay, whatever you got, whatever you want, whatever makes you happy, whatever gives you peace.
Yes.
So I think burlesque is so amazing. I love what you're doing, but I know there's a dark side to it, right? Sadly, there's sizeism and racism in the burlesque world. And one would think maybe that might be a place where those two things would not be, but we all know they both exist in all elements of our world. So I know it's affected you. And like I was talking with Saucy West the other day about how difficult it is when you're Black and fat to get modeling jobs. So I'm assuming that also exists in your burlesque.
It's been a difficult 12 years, especially where I am in Sacramento. I've been pretty much the only or one of the few Black performers in Sacramento doing burlesque, and I haven't really been supported because I do speak out against anti-Blackness, and so I deal with misogynoir, which is a special kind of misogyny that is reserved for Black women.
Oh, yeah.
It has been a difficult road that at this point I've convinced myself the reason why I've stayed around so long is out of pure stubbornness.
Yeah.
I have dealt with, as a consequence of speaking out, where I've been doxxed by having my information put on Craigslist and receiving penis pictures from strangers on my birthday. I've had my address given out to racist sex offenders. I have, when silently protesting outside an event with one other person, a car drove up and threw eggs at my face. I have suffered as a hairstylist with loss of clientele. Socially, like, I've been actually banned from venues for speaking out against racism, where rapist or racist or abuser in our community has been banned for venues. So it has been difficult, and I know with the things I speak of, if I did have a different aesthetic, if I was smaller and if my skin was lighter,
Yeah, of course.
I would not be seen as the villain in these situations.
Yeah.
Fortunately, burlesque, for most part, like I said, a lot of it with like the traditional strip clubs, body types like ours are not, welcome. And I taught pole dancing for 6 years,
Oh yeah.
but I couldn't get hired at a strip club,
Right.
And even after the pole dancing studio I worked at closed, I wasn't able to get hired at a studio around here locally, even though I was the only person that had taught at like Pole Expo and Pole Con,
Right.
which are the two biggest pole events in North America.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but you don't want me to teach at your studio, like things like that. And so burlesque was supposed to be this place for all of us who maybe didn't fit in a certain place or a certain aesthetic. We're able to express our creativity, our artistry, our sensuality, our sexuality in these spaces.
Yeah, to me, that's what burlesque is, but also I'm white, so I don't experience those. I only experience the sizeism, but I don't experience the racism, and I don't. I was always so disappointed to learn that was happening, because I thought burlesque was for everybody supposed to be welcome. I thought it was all body types, all skin colors, all abilities, but nothing's perfect. I guess I can always have these beliefs that might exist, but then it never does.
And there have been spaces created for certain things. Minda May has a disabilities festival. There's Jacqueline Box, who's well known. Different spaces. Pucks of Plenty, they created the What's the Funk festival. So there's places we have to create for ourselves, and it's becoming more visible for
Good.
people who are disabled, are different body types, but it's still not accepted in the norm, because still in places that are more like pageantry or competition or title holders, it's still not being represented there as far as competitors or people who are winning those.
Right. Yeah.
Also main shows. So right now everything's virtual, right? We're still on the main lockdown. Yeah. You have the world at your fingertips, but a lot of shows that are still being done online are still being casted with thin, white, able-bodied performers. When you literally have the world right now, you literally have everybody in burlesque possible that you can have on your stage,
right?
And you're still casting thin, white, able, cis people.
It's like kind of like the lingerie world, which I was in for a while. It's like everything is through the cis white male gaze, and like it's almost like people that are in charge think, oh, if a straight white dude isn't going to be into it, then it's not worth putting out there. I get so fucking sick of it. It's like, if 70% of the fucking population is plus size, somebody likes us. There are people out there that like us, so why don't you fucking hire us? It's really old.
And they don't know until you show them. And it's been, the excuse is like, well, our audience is going to be into it. You don't know, because they didn't know they not like burlesque until you showed them, right?
Right, exactly.
So show them different types of burlesque.
Right, yeah.
So there's really in 2020, like there's really no excuse for it.
Zero. Nope.
And it's just, and also like when it comes to certain companies that's still not advertising to us fabulously body wealthy, like our money's green too.
Yep.
You don't want our money?
Nope. They seriously, obviously they don't. That's what Saucy and I were talking about the other day. It's like, why aren't people making clothes and lingerie for people over size 28? It's almost so impossible to. And I'm sure you must always. I see your fabulous costume, so you must just pull from all kinds of places to pull all your really awesome outfits together.
I usually get everything, and I'm so sad because they are a casualty of COVID. Thrift Town was my place that I would go. My Titanic robe I got for 98 cents.
That's awesome.
And they had things of so many different sizes. Like, that was my place. It's better than any Goodwill, any thrift place. The Thrift Town had been around for like 30 plus years, and I'm very sad. I will buy stuff from like a cheap department store and put some rhinestones on it. I've never had anything custom made.
Yeah.
I just now put down a deposit on getting my first custom made piece, which will be a purple robe.
Ooh, my favorite.
It's not even super expensive. I was like, you know what? I'll get, after 12 years in burlesque, I'm going to get something finally custom made. But everything I buy I've never had anything custom made. I just figure out, like,
Ways to
this
make
is
it
what I want. Like, let's see how I can make this work and make it, burlesque. And, sometimes I'll add like a rhinestone or gem, and sometimes I don't, and we'll see what happens. And that's the thing too, is oftentimes it does become like, what about your aesthetic, and like the more rhinestones you may have on something. But sometimes it's not about that. It's about the connection that you're making with the audience. It's about the story that you're telling on stage. It's about the energy that you're bringing. It's about like the presence that you have, the dynamics, your movement, the musicality, and all that stuff. It's not about how many rhinestones you have.
Before we talk about Black Arts Matter, which I think is what your shirt says, right?
Yep.
And I know it's
Black Arts Matter shirt.
Very important to you, but I want to understand, what was it like the first time you got naked on stage? How was that? And I don't mean it like in the, oh, you're so brave way, but just like.
It was because the first burlesque group I was part of didn't want to get down to pasties. So as soon as I broke away from that and I was able to like take things off, I was just like, oh my God, that's what it's like. And then from there it progressed to, if there's spaces in which I can get fully naked, I'm all about. I remember I did Beta Breakers.
Yes. Naturalist, yeah.
Beta Breakers, I remember seeing some people like naked, and I was like, what? And so I took off my shirt and was completely topless, because a lot of times in those situations, you don't see a body like mine, especially like black, like walking around. And so like Folsom Street Fair, I've been, fortunate enough to perform there, and I've gotten completely naked, and I've walked around naked Folsom Street Fair.
Awesome.
And I'm 275-ish pounds. And I'm like, whatever. I'm okay with that. I'm going to walk around.
Normalize it, right? If you don't normalize it, nobody will.
Yeah. So I have no problem. And it's just a wonderful feeling. It's freeing. As right now I'm Donald Ducking. I'm not wearing anything under this shirt. And I'm only wearing a shirt because I'm talking to you, because quite frankly, I'm naked all the time. And since COVID, I've been most naked. I've been naked for 6 months. I've been the most naked I've ever been, because I'm like naked continuously more than I've ever been in my life, and it's been awesome.
And I'm like you. I don't give a fuck. If you don't like it, don't look. Turn your head if it's bothering you.
It's like we're born naked. We're not born with clothes on. We are all born naked.
Exactly. So tell us about Black Arts Matter, because I know it's very, very important to you, near and dear to your heart.
Well, I founded Black Arts Matter because I felt like with Black Lives Matter, police brutality is an aspect of, unfortunately, Black privilege is what I call it. Because when people try to say like Black people have privilege, like, oh yeah, we have the privilege of being killed by the cops for anything that we do. That is our privilege. I wanted to address everything that makes people see us as less than human, because I look at systemic oppression and racism as a sentence, and our death the period at the end of the sentence. So if we can address everything that leads up to that period, that makes it easy for people to dehumanize us and take our lives, then maybe we won't even reach the end of that sentence, hopefully. But it's been like how many centuries of it, and it still hasn't made a huge difference. So in every aspect of our lives, we are faced with it. And as artists, it's prevalent, because we constantly have to deal with either being tokenized, having things appropriated from us, having our ideas stolen from us, not being compensated properly, not being able to even do our work. So as a burlesque performer, especially being where I'm from and not having a community of other performers like me and having to deal with the stuff that I have, I kind of got tired of it. And so I wanted to form this so there'd be spaces created for Black performers and like hopefully try to expand it into other things. But I was going to start a program for kids that we can teach them like DJ skills and different type of tactical arts, but it's something that's like really hard to teach online.
I feel like we got to find ways to nurture our Black friends, nurture Black community, because our Black friends and family have been so fucking traumatized. I think Black Arts Matter is a way to nurture.
Yeah, and I wanted to turn the trauma into arts healing. But it's just hard with COVID because I feel too with like, it's something that I feel like is best done in person.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to try to take that energy and take that healing and take some of the arts that are more really hands-on onto an online space. So I'm just trying to figure out how the balance of how to do any of that, and I'm still technically challenged at the moment too. But I never heard of what we're using today, and I might look into that because I've been having trouble with the other platform that everybody else has been using.
Oh yeah, yes. StreamYard's pretty cool. I like it. It's free, but I do pay for the upgrade because I've been doing so many, and I'm also using it for my electrology world. So I did pay the $25 a month, but it's no contract, so you can just pay 1 month at a time.
Yeah, and can you do multiple people on at a time?
Yeah, yeah. I think I can do up to 3 or 4.
I think I like it. Works for me because the other one I cannot access at all. So this is good. I'm very happy about this. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the balance and how to maybe try to make this a reality because it's been a hard year and I'm frightened over what may happen in November. And yeah,
we all are. I know. So hashtag Black Arts Matter or art, no S?
Black Arts Matter. Black Arts Matter matters. Okay. Also Disneyland, which is Nizzneyaland, kind of rhymes with Disneyland because that's like encompasses all of me, my hair, my activism, my burlesque, my cats, my midsummer.
We'll put that in. Let's put that in the show notes as well, because I want people to be able to find you in case maybe someday somebody comes across and says, "I want to hire her." I don't know. I wish that would happen. You know, I have no idea. And I'll put your Venmo and stuff in there too, in case somebody wants to give you a tip for all of your amazing energy and information today. I really appreciate it. Is there anything that you would like to leave anybody that watches this? Anything you'd like to leave them with?
You know, in times I know. Especially it's hard to absorb the information when people are trying to educate you with their emotional labor, especially when it comes to talking about white supremacy, white fragility, privilege, and the inherent, that all white people are racist. But like me as a Black woman, and I'm cis, I have cis privilege. And what I do with that cis privilege is to make sure I uplift the voices of those who don't. Realize and recognize that I have it, make sure that I don't use it to oppress those who don't have it,
right.
And know to amplify the voices of those who are not in my position and listen to them because they know better than I do.
Yep.
So white people, that's what you need to do when Black people are telling you.
It's hard for us white people, Monet, because we like to center everything. We like to think we know everything, but we just need to shut the fuck up sometimes and just listen. When people are trying to help you, stop, listen. Just don't get immediately react. We get so afraid. We get so afraid when we get called out. It's like, just shut the fuck up for a minute and just listen.
It is the hardest thing. And literally, I go through it every single day. And the hardest thing for me is that I've lost so many friendships with people and artists that I have admired.
I'm sorry.
like a band that I have 37 tattoos that I won't even name for, and finding out that they think that Black Lives Matter is the same as the KKK. And those are things that I have to live with. This is so painful that people don't even realize. And it's very hard because I was sold a lie. I was sold that Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream, and a dream that we all, like, racism was solved. But they didn't tell us that he was shot in the face by the government, even though he was nonviolent. They didn't tell us that racism was still alive. They didn't tell us about redlining gentrification. They didn't tell us about the Tuskegee experiment. They didn't tell us about Black Wall Street. They didn't tell us about Tulsa. They didn't tell us about Rosewood. They didn't tell us about what happened at Central Park. They didn't tell us about, like, Black women are most likely to die during childbirth because the mortality rate, because they don't take our pain seriously.
Yeah.
They didn't tell us about any of these things. And, like, my whole entire life, we were sold a lie that racism was solved because Martin Luther King had a dream and Rosa Parks didn't give up her seat on the bus. And that's a huge thing with history that needs to be rectified, and people need to realize it. And I'm horrified that people just really don't care. They don't know what's happening. They're not recognizing it. And it needs to change, because it's really sad that in this day and age that we're still dealing with it. And as humans, we have the capability to know the difference between right and wrong and reason, and we still haven't evolved past not liking someone because of who they love, what they look like, what they believe in, what skin they are, how much they weigh, or any of these things. And we have the capability in our brains to realize it doesn't matter, but we're not using that.
It's really fucked up when your president is a white supremacist. And I know white supremacy existed before him and will exist long after him. And hopefully it'll get better eventually, a little bit by little bit. But it does not help to have a white supremacist as a president, because it's just been so amplified and so violent and disgusting. And Black people are hunted like they're fucking animals, and it just breaks my fucking heart. But and I could go on, and I know it's important to you, and I appreciate you sharing with us, and it's in your heart. And yeah, and if you don't know this, white people, all of history is whitewashed. So don't think just because it was in a book that you read in school that it is correct, because we have to question everything nowadays. It's like time. It's time for us to really question everything that we're sold. Everything.
Yeah, like, I mean, I was going to Reno one day and I was like, Donner Pass, let me read about the Donner Party. Yeah, about that. They made us think that they just, like, waited for people to die to eat them. No, that's not what happened. First of all, somebody led them down a different path because they had some general store they wanted people to buy stuff through, so they didn't go through the path that had been traveled by everybody safely to get over here to the west. So then that's one thing. And then another thing is that they purposely killed people so they can eat them. And I was so mad. I was like, that was nothing like they told us in school.
Not at all. I know. I went to school in Nevada, so that was a big deal, and you'd think, at least if you went to school in Nevada, they'd tell you the real truth, but not at all, not even close. So I had to learn that on my own.
That was the thing that I was just like, what? Yeah. And then that moment I was like, what else are they lying about?
Oh,
so
everything.
Yeah, that's a big problem in our country. And then finding, I don't know if you saw the news reports that, like, how many people don't know about the Holocaust.
Yeah, I can't. It's hard to understand that, but
yeah,
I just
yeah.
Okay, so before we end, tell everybody what your IG is so people can follow you on Instagram.
Nizneyland, Nizneyland.
Love it. Cool.
And
thank you so much. Okay. On Facebook.
Facebook is Moha Loves Hair. Is my personal, and then Mone't Ha-Sidi is my hair page.
Right, cool. Your hair looks amazing.
Oh yeah, I just took it out the package and put it on today.
Looks great. I like the color on you. Your glasses you said are from Zenni, right?
Oh yes, I love me some Zenni Optical.
So those are like, when I saw you, I was like, oh my god, because purple, first of all, I just love the colors, and yeah, well, gorgeous. So thank you so much for everything. Thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it. And if anybody wants to make a donation, give a tip to Mone't and help out BlackArtsMatter, because Black Art matters, because it's a great way to help educate and nurture the Black community, I think, and to all of us to nurture. But it's our turn to nurture the Black community. It's time for us to try to give back in that way. So Monet, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I will put all this fun stuff in the show notes. Be sure to subscribe if you like my videos so you see them when they're brand new and get posted.
All right. Thanks,
Bye, beauties.
everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.